Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cup of Jonah. All right, so of course, remember to check out phoneboothpodcast.substack.com for the whole family of podcasts over there. Now, today we get to the first chapter heading for today is that the divine truth is the first and highest truth. Okay. From what we have shown, it clearly results that the divine truth is the first and highest truth. As is clear from the philosopher, things are disposed in truth as they are disposed in being. The reason for this is that the true and being follow one another. For the true then exists when that which is said to be and that which is said not to be. Well, let me read that again. The reason for this is that the true and being follow one another. For the true then exists when that which is said to be and that which is said not to be. But the divine being is first and most perfect. Therefore, its truth is the first and highest truth. So, in Aristotle's Metaphysics, he talks about how, I think he even says that a thing is good insofar as it has being. Because a lack of a do-good or an evil is a lack of being according to your nature, as your nature would determine. And the example he gave, or pondered, I guess you could say, to come to that conclusion, one of the many things he pondered was, okay, well, we know that it's good for a bird to have two wings, and it's a physical evil for a bird to be lacking two wings. But it's not an evil for a man or a dog to lack wings, because it's not proper to our nature. It doesn't belong to our nature. If it belonged to our nature, there would be a lack of a being. There would be some lack of being, a fullness of being according to our nature. So it's kind of the thought process. Again, what belongs to a thing essentially belongs to it most perfectly. But as we've shown, truth is said of God essentially. Therefore, his truth is the highest and the first truth. Furthermore, there is truth in our intellect because it is adequated to the thing that the intellect understands. But as can be seen in Metaphysics 5, unity is the cause of equality. Since then, in the divine intellect, the intellect and that which it understands are absolutely one, its truth is the first and highest truth. Morning, Shiva. Thanks, brother. Moreover, that which is the measure in any given genus is most perfect in that genus. That is why all colors are measured by white, but the divine truth is the measure of all truth. For the truth of our intellect is measured by the thing outside the soul, since our intellect is said to be true because it is in agreement with the thing that it knows. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. The intellect is true when it conforms or is in agreement to the thing as it is in reality. On the other hand, the truth of a thing is measured by the divine intellect, which is the cause of the thing, as which will later be proven. In the same way, the truth of artifacts come from the art of the artisan, for a chest is then true when it agrees with its art. And since God is the first intellect and the first intelligible, the truth of any given intellect must be measured by the truth of his intellect. If, as the philosopher teaches, each thing is measured by that which is first in its genus, the divine truth, therefore, is the first, highest, and most perfect truth. So, that was an example I had forgotten. When we were talking yesterday, it's a great example. When we were talking yesterday, and once before earlier this year, about when my mind, the idea I have in my mind is in conformity with the thing, then it's a true idea. Now, the other example he gave, which is wonderful to illustrate the point, when an artist, I could have all the best intentions in the world, but I am not a sculptor or a painter, right? But I can have an idea, an image of a beautiful statue of our Lord, for example, chiseled in marble, right? And I can give it a shot. But I tell you, that will not be very true to the image in my head, because I don't have the skill to put the image in my head into the thing, into that cold marble. So since I'm the cause of that artifact, that piece of art, then we would say that that artifact is more or less true in as much as it conforms to the idea of it in my mind. See how it's the opposite? If I have a causal relationship with that thing, you measure that thing's trueness or truth or not, or not, by what's in my mind, since I caused it out in things. But with other things that we come to know and discover in the world around us, we're not the cause of those things, like trees, birds, dogs, etc. We're not the cause of those things. So therefore, the rule or the measure of how true our idea, the truth is asked of our understanding and the image that we have of that thing. Is it true? Right? Like the pen. So that's the difference in the measure. So since God is the cause of all things, the question is, are we true? He's the highest truth, but are we true to that image that he has of us? So interesting. It's beautiful. So that will be an important distinction as we get further along and start to look more closely at his creation itself. Because remember, we're still obviously in book one, exclusively of God and his properties and what we can understand about him and his inner life. And it's going to get very interesting. Like, does God know evil? In about 9-10 chapters, Shiva, we're going to, Thomas actually asks, does God have a will? And what do we mean when we say that? So it'll be very interesting. And then in book 2, when we talk about creation, we'll also ask whether or not man has an intellect. Yeah, that's our experience. We're kind of using it right now. Do we have a will? Is that will free? These are all questions that are going to be very important to address. So we're obviously talking about the intellect and its operations, and the intellect and its object. Then we're going to look at the will in God and its operation, and then the will and its objects, the will in God, right? So it's pretty beautiful. And then we're going to talk analogously, of course, in the final series of chapters, we're going to ask if there's some kind of an analogy of emotion in God. Like, is there delight and joy? Is there love? And what do we mean by that, right? So it's going to get pretty interesting. And then we're even going to ask, well, is there virtue in God? In what way can we say there's virtue? Can we even say that? So, and then does he will evil? If he wills all things, if everything exists because of his will, and there's evil, it would seem that God wills evil. Anyway, so it's going to get pretty great. And then towards the end, is God living, and is God life? And those are interesting because we've kind of looked at God as the way, the methodos. We've looked at God as the truth. And so then we're going to look at God as the life, which is beautiful. So, all right. Well, we're going to keep it a little shorter today. We did go almost an hour yesterday. So we're going to have to call it. The next chapter is a little bit longer, so I can't really squeeze it in right now. I was hoping to, but a little bit of a shorter reading today. But yeah, I think it'll be really nice when we start to as we continue to unpack some of these other questions. And just keep in mind, I also do encourage you to look up the works of Thomas. You can pull up; they're all free online, and you can actually follow along with the text yourself, or cross-reference and dig deeper. And Shiva, in our conversation yesterday about free will, look up also the Summa Theologica of Thomas, because that gives a different perspective of his, and he talks a little bit more explicitly about man's free will. You can also jump into book 2 in this work to kind of explore that and see what he says there. Because once you have a complete understanding of his thought and perspective and why he's saying the things he's saying here, then you can kind of start to see where you agree or disagree, and then we can talk about some of those things as well. So feel free to bring other things to bear on the conversation if you'd like here, and we can look at it and comment on it as well. So, but I appreciate you guys, and do enjoy your cup of coffee here. I don't know if I mentioned it. I was going to move down this last weekend. I was going to drive the RV down to Florida, and ended up not being able to. When we did some safety tests, pressure tests, the tires, did some other valve and water line checks, and found a couple of other issues. So I haven't actually officially put the RV in my name yet, which is great. So in case the issues that we are starting to uncover become more critical, hopefully not, but if that is the case, then I might have to find another arrangement. But for now, we're just pausing moving it from this plot of land here until we can figure out exactly how much work needs to be done on it. So it's a work in progress. It's a little bit of an adventure. And then I've got about a week and a half, 2 weeks-ish, until my third and final exam. So I'm busy with the studying as well. But so that'll be exciting. So I'm looking forward to having that behind me, so I can just get into the daily grind. So, but remember, please, this evening, it is Wednesday. This evening, got a great guest for you guys tonight. And it's going to be a wonderful conversation. I've been messaging this gentleman on and off for the last several months, trying to work out a time for him to come on the podcast. And finally, we were able to lock in this evening. So do come. I know he's been, well, I'll let him tell you his story. But you'll recognize his name when he comes on this evening. So, because he's been in our chats on the live streams for a number of months now as well. But don't forget, 7 p.m. EST, check it out. And also, of course, don't forget phoneboothpodcast.substack.com. Also share and like, if you actually like, if you're enjoying yourself here. Also, last housekeeping point, I have been, as you know, I've been swamped with all this other stuff, but it's also partially due to my own time management, perhaps, but I have not uploaded to Spotify in about an episode here or to the Substack in a couple weeks. It's probably like 10 episodes, which is a problem. So I got to get on that. But they're all on the YouTube and they're all on the X account. But I will be updating the podcast, the Substack, and the Spotify soon. It's starting to get ridiculous, so I need to catch up. So thank you for your patience there, but we will catch up. So, all right. Appreciate that, Castles. Thank you for the repost. Sometimes if I don't call out the repost and thank you, I just see the ones that come up in the chat. I've seen after episodes that other people have posted. So if you have reposted, I appreciate you if you shared it. So, all right. Without further ado, have a great rest of your day. I will see you this evening for Philosopher King podcast at 7 p.m. EST. Until then, have a great day. Cheers.